So, Srila Guru Maharaj, during the conception, his mother was afraid that there would be problems with her pregnancy. So they prayed to Ramachandra for protection. So like sometimes we hear that famous mantra, the one Krishna, 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 Hey. But the second part of it says, Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rakshamam. So Raksha, like Guru Maharaj's name, Bhakti Rakhak. Raksha means to protect. So Mahaprabhu used to chant this also, the Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rakshamam. So in a similar way, Srila Guru Maharaj's mother, wanting to protect her baby, she prayed to Ramachandra for some special protection. So when Guru Maharaj was born, he was given the name Ramendra Chandra Bhattacharya. So he was given a name after Ramachandra. And when he became initiated by Srila Saraswati Thakur, his name was then altered to Ramendra Sundar. But still the Rama part was there. So Srila Gurudev, when he was composing a pranam mantram for Srila Guru Maharaj once, because Guru Maharaj appeared on the appearance day of Birachandra Prabhu, who is the son of Nityananda Prabhu. We're told Nityananda Prabhu, Dayal Nitai, he's more merciful than Mahaprabhu. But then we're told his son, Birachandra Prabhu, is even more merciful than Nityananda Prabhu. So, Srila Gurudev, in this pranam mantram, glorifying Srila Guru Maharaj, he said, and I'm rendering what was written there, and not fully, but just telling you what was expressed. He said, he was as dharmic as Ramachandra and more merciful than Birachandra. This is the beauty of Srila Gurudev's poetry and his extraordinary genius and intellect, to combine these two things. Because you would think, if he's as dharmic as Ramachandra, the illusion is like, maybe not so flexible, right? If we have any hint or idea about the pastimes of Ramachandra, Guru Maharaj will point out, here, although he's taken to be an expansion of Krishna, he's an avatar of Krishna, he's constrained, he can't fully express himself. And that's where these kind of subtle gradations come in. Ramachandra is constrained by what is called Rajaniti, right? Which means, how does that translate? As, like political concerns, right? So this is something we may be able to relate to. Sometimes because of political concern, we can't fully express ourselves. So even Ramachandra, he's in a position where he has to please some other people, the populace and whatever, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But so when Gurudev said, Guru Maharaj, he's as dharmic as Ramachandra, right? And I say Sita is the one who's controlling this here. You should put your machine on mute. You understand? Your microphone, your Skype microphone, put on mute. Do you know how to do that? Mute means silent, because I'm getting a feedback loop. Anyway, see, this is where I need to just like calm down and forget about it. Start giving like tech support, in the middle of it. All right, it's okay. Everything is okay. It's all good. So, let me just see if I do that. Okay, so when Gurudev says, he's as dharmic, means he's got the dharma buddhi, the religious, moral authority of Ramachandra. That's what he means to say. But he realizes by throwing that assertion out, although that's an incredible a great glorification, but then you might think, Well, then if he's as dharmic as Ramachandra, maybe he's not so flexible or merciful or kind, gentle, sensitive, care, all of those things. And then what does he balance it with perfectly ontologically? He's as dharmic as Ramachandra and more merciful than Birachandra Prabhu. More merciful than the most merciful son of Nityananda. So he's saying, if you can conceive of someone who is as dharmic as Ramachandra and more merciful than Birachandra, then you have a glimpse of the divine personality of Srila Guru Maharaj. Sometimes Srila Guru Maharaj would say that he would quote Einstein praising Gandhi, and Einstein said, there will come a time in the future where people, they won't even believe that someone like this existed. Right? They'll think it's a myth, a legend, that there was someone who was so disinterested. Like, imagine the political leader of a country who's wearing like practically Babaji Vesh, sitting there spinning a charka. You know, right? He's saying they'll think it was just some kind of a creation of the imagination of men. Right? Anyway, so in other words, it's a great compliment. Saying, you're so extraordinarily qualified, people won't even believe that someone like you existed. In a similar way, Srila Guru Maharaj, he's so extraordinary, we now realize in a similar way, in the future, people, they may not believe that someone like that actually existed. But we have videotape, we have audio, we have the proof of his existence. That's the type of love, affection, devotional way of seeing that Srila Gurudev has for Srila Guru Maharaj. So we find that Guru Maharaj is telling, we have Ramachandra and Lakshman, we have Krishna and Balaram, Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. And sometimes in their different manifestations, they have conversations. Like we hear that, Nityananda Prabhu told Balaram once, Krishna and Balaram, they're on a Singhasan throne, and Balaram is saying, your days are finished. Come down from the throne. My Lord Gauranga has arrived. Your days are long ago. This Krishna Balaram, get off from the throne. My Lord Gauranga will now take your, that type of spirit. So, but sometimes that Nityananda Prabhu would reveal and say, Ram Leela, that's not my favorite pastime. We have all these different pastimes. Imagine Maharaj, I know that. He's not going to say, I did not know that. No, he does know that. He's omniscient. They have all these different pastimes. And Nityananda Prabhu is saying, it's not my favorite, because normally Krishna and Balaram, one name of Krishna, you may not know, is Ramanuja. Rama Anuja. Like we have Anu Krishna, right? Anu sometimes means a junior. So Ramanuja means the little brother of Rama, of Balaram. That's one of the names of Krishna. So normally, and Gaur Nitai and other pastimes, so normally Baladeva, Balaram, he's in the elder brother position, and he likes that. Because when you're brother to brother, there's a friendship level, but also by being older, little bit approaching Vatsalya Rasa, which means familial affection, like the way a guardian feels toward their ward, a parent towards a child, an uncle towards a niece or nephew, that kind of spirit. So he's revealing, saying, I like that because then I get to fully serve you. We know that Balaram, he always, what is the degree of his serving tendency? Like when you think of all the things, like what can I do to serve? He becomes the floor, the chair, the Sringasan, the clothes, the environment, things that are inconceivable or unimaginable. We're told, why does he first appear in the womb of Devaki before being transferred to Rohini? To get it ready for Krishna. That's his idea. According to Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, Balaram appears in the womb of Devaki first, and then he leaves his Ananta expansion behind to be like nice sitting, but make sure like, yeah, I think it's ready for Krishna. I'm ready for Krishna to appear here. All right, so I'm going to be transferred. Yogamaya, he's like, hey, you're way ahead of me. She's already transferring him to the womb of Rohini. Now Devaki is ready. Ananta Dev is in their throne, everything ready to receive Krishna. So that's always his position. He always wants to serve. He wants to protect. What did I used to say that on the Westwood police car? Our duty is to serve and protect. Anyway, so that's Ananta. Our duty is to serve and protect. He's the origin. Everything has its origin there, right? If we trace it to the central conception of the infinite. He says, but in the Ram Leela, I'm the younger brother. And that is a little bit of a problem. And you say, why? These are divine pastimes. You know, Ram and Lakshman. What is the... And by the way, that's Gurudev said, even it surprised him when he gave the name Ram Lakshman together. He said, I don't even know where that came. It just like came to him to name someone Ram Lakshman. So anyway, why he explains, and we hear, this is part of Ram Leela, that when Ramachandra, the day before he's going to be crowned as the king, right, of Ayodhya, basically the king of the world, of the known world at that time. It's on the eve of his coronation. And one of the wives, the king has several wives, she is mother of another son. She has some envy, and she has a favor that her husband owes her. And she goes, I want to call that favor right now. He goes, well, what is it? Well, the favor I want is that you will banish Ramachandra. You will send him to the forest. He will not be crowned king tomorrow. Right? We're told this was enough to kill Maharaja Dasarath. Right? This will finish him to have to do this. But nonetheless, this is their religious, dharmic way of behaving at the time. So he tells Ramachandra, who's on the evening before his coronation, he's going to become king tomorrow, you're banished, you have to go to the forest. And we're told, what does Ramachandra do? Does he protest? Does he say, ask why? Does he want some sort of a detailed explanation? No. He immediately prepares himself to go to the forest. Lakshman, who's in the junior position, this makes him furious, right? He wants to prevent this, he wants to stop this. But because in this pastime, he's the younger brother, he has to obey. He can't override the will and order of Ramachandra. So he has to also prepare to go to the forest. So it's a heart-crushing, heart-breaking sort of thing. But we're told, Ramachandra, he just accepts it. Like, what is my duty? This is what it means to be as dharmic as Ramachandra. His only concern is, one moment you're being told, your duty tomorrow is to sit on the throne and be the king of Ayodhya. The next moment you're being told, no, actually, you're not going to be the king tomorrow. You're banished to go to the forest. Someone else will be king. He's like, all right, then that's what I'm to do. No protest, right? Just the ultimate example of what Guru Maharaj like to quote in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is saying, what is it? Karmane vadikaraste ma paleshu kadachana. Our position is to serve, to perform our duty. The fruit or result, that is up to Krishna. So we hear the verse has been recorded in the Bhagavatam. Tyaktva sudushtaja surepshita raja lakshmin Dharmista arja bachasa yadagara ranyam mayam rigam doita ipsatam anbadavad bande mahapurushate charanarabindam, which Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur says can be applied to Mahaprabhu, but it's originally intended to describe the pastimes of Ramachandra. So we know that he enters the forest. Now, and his wife, Sita Devi, follows him. She dresses very simply. He dresses like a monk. Together, Sita, Ramachandra, Lakshman, and who else went with him? I forget who else. But anyway, they enter the forest and live in exile in a simple way for such a long time. So then we hear, while they're in the forest, right, that Ramachandra has to leave Sita to go off for some particular reason. And he tells Lakshman, you have to guard her and protect her. Right? And at this time, Sita's waiting, and we hear of, the evil Ravana, who's located in Sri Lanka at the time. Okay, either we lost them, found them, or are they back? Okay, we lost you for a second, I think you're back, but I have to turn on the camera. Back? We can see you again? Okay. All right. So Ravana, like Guru Maharaj like to tell this saying, there's a saying, Subhasha Shigram Asubha Kalohanam. And what it means is, that which is auspicious, you should do immediately without hesitation. And that which is inauspicious, you should delay, wait and see. He who acts hurriedly will have to repent. This kind of thing. And when he told us this advice, we were surprised at who's the source of this. It's great wisdom. Everyone will benefit from hearing it, right? That which is auspicious, do immediately without hesitation. That which is inauspicious, delay it, put it off. Don't rush into that. Fools rush in where angels fear the tread, this whole idea. So Guru Maharaj says, where does this come from? It's from Ravana, right? The demon, the 10-headed demon, Ravana. How does it happen? After all these pastimes take place and he's lying and dying on the battlefield, Guru Maharaj said, Ramachandra told Lakshman, you go and get some advice for him. He has some valuable knowledge about the world, about life, about experience. Go and approach him. And he said at first, Lakshman goes to where his head is because he's lying on the battlefield dying. And Rama said, no. If you're to take instruction, then you should sit at the feet. That's the proper way to approach. Sit at the lotus feet of the instructor. So he's sitting at the feet of Ravana and inquiring from him, like, what have you learned in life? What valuable wisdom can you impart to me? And that's when Ravana says, Subhasa Shigram Asubha Kalohanam. Everyone told me, don't go against Ramachandra. Everyone told me, do not kidnap his wife, Sita Devi. Everyone told me, this is a bad idea. Every last person, I ran it by different people. Nobody signed on to this. They all said, bad idea, don't do it, please don't do this. It's going to be the end of you, it's going to be your ruination. He said, but I didn't listen to them. He said, I had these other good programs. Like he had this thing, the Stairway to Heaven, the Mango program. Mangoes come from Sri Lanka. Different kind. The city was very nice. He said, but those I stopped. I stopped developing them. But this bad program, fight with Ramachandra, steal his wife, I just rushed into it. Full-blown passion, didn't listen to anybody, against all good advice. And he said, look at me now. So that which is auspicious, do it immediately. That which is inauspicious, delay, wait, don't do that. Right? So that Ravana hatched this plan to kidnap Sita, the wife of Ramachandra. And so when they're in the forest, and Ramachandra says, Lakshman, no matter what happens, do not abandon Sita. You're here to protect her. And so what happens, there's some evil magicians and people like that. So someone starts making, it sounds like, oh, Lakshman, help me, Lakshman, help. It sounds just like Ramachandra's voice, and Lakshman's like, he doesn't know what to, like, it's Lakshman, save me. You know, he's calling off, because it's an evil magician who's imitating the voice of Ramachandra. And Lakshman's like, Ramachandra said, don't abandon Sita. And he's like, what do I do? So what does he do? It's the famous called Lakshman Rekha. He takes this special, like chalk, you can say. They still have it in India, but that's another thing. They use it for keeping away like insects. It's called Lakshman Rekha. So he makes this magic circle and tells Sita, do not leave the circle. The magic circle. You have to stay in the magic circle and then you'll be safe. If you set 1 foot outside of the magic circle, who can say what will happen? So you must promise to me you will not leave the magic circle where you're protected. And so she said, yes, I won't. So Lakshman runs off to save Ramachandra. Lakshman, help me! You know, he's running towards that voice. They're taking Lakshman away. Then what does the magician do? It takes the form of this beautiful little deer, the fawn. You know, like Bambi? Bambi? Like little Bambi, and little Bambi, you know, like cuter than a Disney Bambi. And Sita's like, oh, so cute, that little, and the deer, oh, yeah, you know, dancing around, and she said, oh, and, oh, then the deer's like, and so then Sita, she crosses the magic circle to go get the little deer, to say it, then they've got her. Then you see, evil magician, 10-headed demon, the whole thing is going south, and south in the sense of Sri Lanka south. You know, like any Sri Lanka people watching in the future, love you people, and the whole system, and the mangoes especially. So, anyway, so then Sita is captured by Ravana. She went out of the Lakshman Rekha, the magic circle, and he's got Ramachandra's wife, kidnapped her, he's flying back to Sri Lanka. And Ramachandra's like, Lakshman, what are you doing here? Oh, I heard you crying, you know. And then they realize they've been duped by evil magicians. And then they're like, oh my God, you know, Sita has been kidnapped. But Sita is very intelligent. And there's some mystical things here. Because one thing we have to say is that once Mahaprabhu was traveling in South India, and he found a Ram Bhakta, someone who worships Sita and Ram. And the Ram Bhakta is like, he's crying. And Mahaprabhu, why are you crying? He goes, oh, when I think how glorious is Mother Sita, and that this demon, that he touched her and kidnapped her, and like, I can't stand it. My heart can't take it. And then Mahaprabhu took a poem sloka from a book, and he said, actually, the way Yogamaya works, spiritual illusion, is Yogamaya generated a mundane replica of Sita. He said, because avan manasagochara, aprakrita bastu, she has a divine spiritual form. He said, what to speak of grab her and kidnap her? A demonic person cannot even see her divine form. So a Maya Sita was created, an illusory clone representation of her, and that's what he stole. But that's some esoteric point. But in the meantime, what she's doing, well, Ravana's taking her through the air, flying mystically back to Sri Lanka to imprison her there. She's taking off, well, they can't see, she's removing her jewelry and creating a trail of jewelry. She's taking off ring, bangles, dropping bangles, ear, necklace, anything. And so it's creating a direction, a trail. Right? So that later, when Ramachandra is devastated, Lakshmana is devastated, and they form an alliance with Hanuman, the great, monkey god, and all of his soldiers, and what's the other one's name? Leader of the bears? Huh? Jambavan, and right, thank you. Who said that? All right, there we go, all right. So he forms an alliance. Like you see Hanuman, the monkey god, he's always very strong and he's the greatest servitor of Ram. So when they're trying to figure out what to do, someone says, we found these, they show the jewelry of Sita. Bangles, rings, earrings, necklace. And when Ramachandra sees this, he becomes ecstatic because it's created a directional trail to reveal them. And he turns to Lakshman, he says, Lakshman, look, this is Sita's jewelry. Do you recognize this? And this is where we learn something about the qualifications of those who participate in these pastimes. Is Lakshman, he looks at the jewelry and says, no, I don't recognize that. He said, the only thing that I do recognize as hers is on her ankles, the nupur means the ankle bells. He said, that I recognize as hers, but I don't recognize any of this other jewelry. And the reason he's saying that is because although Sita was arguably the most beautiful woman in the universe, Ramachandra's brother Lakshman never looked above her ankle to her face, made eye contact. So what jewelry was on her wrist, what jewelry was hanging from her ears, what jewelry was around her neck, he'd never seen that. He was always, respectful. This and that, how impossible is that? Right? But that gives you a hint of the quality of who's there. So then, in that way, they discover Sita. And one other thing we want to say is that Guru Maharaj gave this as an example of, interestingly, of the dangers of imitation. So in another situation where Hanuman, by his mystic power, and we should say this about when Hanuman, the monkey god, he's going to save them, he goes running on the southern coast of India and leaps through the air. He jumps off a mountain cliff, and it's around, something like 500 miles to Sri Lanka. So he leaps 500 miles over the ocean. Then when he gets there, he's very hungry. So he's doing some surveillance of the city, sometimes making his form real small, like the size of a mouse, so he can surveil. Other times he's large, he has mystic power. But he's never, at this point, mangoes are only in Sri Lanka. Right? So he goes into a mango grove and he's saying, what are these? I've never seen these things before. And he starts eating mangoes and thinking, these are unbelievable. So he starts eating mangoes, and what he does is he spits the seeds back to India. So he's spitting the seeds 500 miles, we know sometimes boys, they like to test their prowess, and things like that. So he's spitting the seeds 500, and the seeds are going back to India and landing in different parts, and producing mangoes. Because once Gurudev told us, he said, when we were taking prasadam with him, and it was during mango season, he said, when you eat good mangoes, he said, you will forget everything. Like all other things to eat, you'll forget where you are, you'll forget your existence if you eat really good mangoes. And then he told that story. He said, so when Hanuman was there, although he came to the city on this mission to save Sita, who'd been kidnapped, when he's in that mango grove eating these mangoes, they were so good, he temporarily forgot why he was there. So, but at any rate, we know the Ramayana is one of the greatest epics ever written. And it's many volumes. There's so many things to understand there. I can't possibly do it justice, but by tell a few stories or events that are in my mind. So at one point, in protecting Ramachandra and Lakshman, they were in a vulnerable position at the time. Hanuman decides to guard them, so he, again, by his mystic power, he, with his tail, he creates like a fortress to protect them. So they're inside, but he's given he's told maybe by Bibhishan, where they say, Hanuman, who is it? Ravana, who's again an evil black magician type, saying, he has all this mystic power. He could trick you. So no matter what happens, you have to vow, you will not let anyone enter there, because they could kidnap Ramachandra and Lakshman. Then we're finished. If we lose Rama and Lakshman, we're done. So you have to understand, he has all this mystic power, he can create illusions, so beware. And Hanuman's like, yes sir, no one's getting past me. So then the first form Ravana takes is the form of Ramachandra's father. And he comes, Lakshman, how is my son? Is he okay? I've heard maybe, can I just see him for a minute? And, oh, you think I'm such a fool? Be gone, Satan. He leaves. Then he comes back as his mother. I want to see my son just for a moment, please. He's like, no, you can't fool me. I'm Hanuman, servant of Ram. Be gone. Then, remember, it was Bibhishan who told Hanuman, don't let anyone in. So then Ravana, he takes the form of Bibhishan. Hanuman, did anyone get in to see him? No, he came as Ram's father. I'm not such a fool to let him in. He came as Ramachandra's mother, crying and I didn't fall for that trick. He goes, very good, but are you sure that no one got in there? I am positive that no one got in. Are you absolutely sure they're protected and no one has entered there? Go see for yourself, they're there. And that's how Ravana entered. And then what did Guru Maharaj say? So, in Krishna consciousness, we must beware of imitation. That's who Guru Maharaj is. He's not just telling you a story, right? Suddenly, the Ramayana is a cautionary tale about Sahajyaism and imitation devotion. That's why he has this extraordinary capacity to extract. So, some other things we hear that, and I'll tell you a personal story. I had just read this Ramayana from Janardhan Maharaj. He had this 3-volume set. And some old friend of mine from Krishna Consciousness long ago came to visit in SoCal. And somehow we got on this subject because I just read the book. And he found these pastimes somewhat disturbing, because we think, if they're divine pastime, then they should just all be happy, where everybody's happy, happy ending, happy, happy. But we know that after they kill Ravana and reclaim Sita and bring her back to Ayodhya, so there's Ramachandra as king, Sita as queen, and we think, now it's going to be all happy. I also thought the same thing. Then what do we hear? That one of the citizens in the town Because they think, oh, Sita, she's been, he said, he's overheard. The king always has some spies go around and hear what people are talking about to like monitor, just like they do in the modern world, but a little differently. Right, so at that time, they didn't have Facebook. So, so they have a guy going around, like listening, and he overheard some man telling his wife who'd stayed out the house, and he goes, maybe that Ramachandra, he's okay with something like his wife can live in another man's house for a year and then he accepts her back without question. I'm not that kind of a person. Right? So this is brought back to the ear of Ramachandra, and he realizes, I'm the king, the citizens, if they have these type of suspicions about the king, it'll be bad for the country, for the citizenry, etc. So what does he do? He has to banish Sita, send her away. And then what do we find? To add insult to injury to insult, we find out she's pregnant. So while she's pregnant, she gets banished. And that's where she goes to the ashram of Valmiki Rishi. And I can tell you, when I'm reading this story myself in the book, I slammed the books, got up and started walking around the room like angry. I could not understand this. I could not digest this. I went, wait a minute. I thought now it was because I didn't know the whole story, so I thought this is going to be the happy time. They got her back, now they're in Ayodhya, Jai Ram, the Sita Ram thing. Then you find out she's being banished and sent. She's accepted in the ashram of Valmiki Rishi. She's pregnant with twins. That's where she gives birth to Love and Kush. So I thought, I can't digest this. This is too sad. It's too, I don't understand. How is this a divine pastime? And Guru Maharaj always saves us. And then I'm listening to tape and Guru Maharaj says, what we see in the pastimes of Ramachandra is that he's putting the happiness of others before his own happiness. So he could live his happy life with Sita forever in Ayodhya, but for the happiness of the citizens, of the others, and who are by extension, who do they represent? The same thing with Mahaprabhu and that sloka, Tyaktva Sudushtija Surepshita Raja Lakshmin. He gives up his happy life with Vishnu Priya to take sannyas, to become Sri Krishna Chaitanya, to give Krishna consciousness to everyone else. So Ramachandra is sacrificing his own happiness for the happiness of the citizens. So my friend, he had a with this ending also. So I said, well, I just heard Srila Sridhar say he's sacrificing his own happiness for the happiness of the citizens or for others. And then he said, in a little bit emotional way, he turned to me and goes, but not for Sita. I just went like, because I didn't know what to say. And so I thought, well, we haven't seen each other in 15 years. I'm going to let it go. So, but it really bothered me. Really bothered me. So I'm riding in a train where? In Russia, the Ukraine, on a train in that part of the world. And this is 4 months later. And then I think the response came. And I thought, yes, that's why she is more exalted. That's why at Sita Ram, Radha Krishna, the woman, the female, is in the more exalted position. Who is it? Schopenhauer? And forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't even think you care. Whether it's Schopenhauer or as a Bengali would say, or any other Hauer. Rutger Hauer. So if it was Schopenhauer who said, women are judged, and this is heavy, what I'm about to say, and just take it for what it's worth. women are judged according to their capacity to endure suffering. There, I said it. Women are judged according to their ability to endure suffering. So we'll think male to female, oh, well, women endure the suffering of childbirth. You know, men, like when we think of men as being tough, but like giving birth to a child, that ranks up there with about like what is pain, physical pain, about how much physical pain a human being could tolerate. That's on an external level. But what is pointing at to endure suffering, now we're talking about the heart. Who is capable of suffering greater pain in the heart is more exalted. Now we're leaving the plane of rational thought. Aprakrita vastu avan manasagochara, spiritual conception leaves the plane of rationality. It's going to contradict what we think we know, what we think we understand, what we think is happiness. So Guru Maharaj makes this point. He quotes Shelley, the poet, saying, our sweetest songs are those that tell the saddest tales. So what are the great love stories? Romeo and Juliet. What are the great love songs? They're always about separation, heartbreaking subject matters. Right? If we had, and let's say, speaking of women, if we had a group of women and they're watching a heartbreaking love story, right? They're sitting there and they're like, they've got tissues out, they're crying, and they're watching this thing, and it's just ripping their hearts apart, right? And some man comes in and he sees like, there's a room full of crying women watching some kind of story, right? Movie, soap opera, video, whatever it is. And he goes like, hey, let me put something else on. They go like, stop it! Don't move. And he said, well, wait a minute. You're all crying. I'll put something happy on. No! Shh, shh. Quiet. Right? So this is what Guru Maharaj says to people. Tears are streaming down their face. Their hearts are breaking. And they want to watch more. Want to see the story continue. Right? So he said, our sweetest songs are those that tell the saddest tales. So, ironically, when the heart is experiencing separation, the pain of separation, it reaches a greater depth and yields a superior spiritual substance than it does in the happy times of meeting. So they have a saying that says, absence makes the heart grow fonder. So the test is not when the lovers are together. That's never the test, is when you're together. The test of love is when you're apart. That's when we will find out what degree of love is there, when there's separation. Not when happy times and joyous union, but when we're separated, then we'll see. And how much what suffering one is willing to endure, and how much sacrifice one is willing to make in love, in separation from the beloved. And that's what these pastimes are about. And that's why Sita is so exalted. That's why Radharani is so exalted and the Braja Gopis are so exalted. They have so much love for Krishna, they cannot bear the blinking of eyes. That amount of separation. We hear they're cursing Brahma, the creator, saying, he doesn't know how to make eyes. What are these eyes that have to keep blinking? Why didn't he make eyes that are always open? So we can see the beauty of Krishna. In one place, Radharani says, I wish I had eyes like a fish that are just always open. So I get these giant eyes, so I can just drink the nectarine beauty of Krishna without interruption. We're told when the cowherd boys go in the forest herding cows with Krishna, if there's a tree and Krishna goes by a tree, and while he passes in front, the tree momentarily blocks their vision, they have like a heart attack. They're like, oh. He went by the tree for a second. They didn't see him. They have that sort of intense love. So people who are cursing the Creator for creating eyes that blink, what do we hear? They were separated from Krishna for 100 years. And in that 100 years of separation, that's during that, when the separation reached its zenith, its highest point, that's when Krishna told Uddhava, here's a letter. Take it to Radharani and the Braja Gopis. It'll give them some hope. But what he wanted, everything he does is multidimensional. It's not that he only wanted to deliver the letter. He wanted Uddhava to see, be an eyewitness to the type of devotion they have, that they express in separation. And what is his conclusion? After witnessing this, the divine madness of Radharani in separation from Krishna and the other Braja Gopis, what does Uddhava say? Asamaho charanarenu jashamahangshang Brindavane kim apiguma latosadinam yadushtadam swajanamarja patam chahitva bejur mukunda padavim shrutibir bimigyam. He's saying, what the Vedas are searching for, what people are trying to achieve through religion, through yoga, through whatever it could be. He said, these girls, these teenage gopi girls in Vrindavan, they've got it. They own the copyright and trademark to Krishna. So they're so exalted. The world that they move in, I just want an atomic presence there. If I could be a blade of grass, then when they're moving in the plane of service to Krishna, the dust from their lotus feet will come on my head and consecrate my existence. That's his impression. He say, Bande Nanda Brajastrinam Padarenum Abhikshnasha Yasam Harikatod Gitam Punati Bhuvanatrayam. And he said, and when they're sitting, those gopis, they're churning their butter and their bangles are making sounds like ch 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 ch, and they're singing songs in praise of Krishna. He said the whole world, the whole universe, the whole animation, everything is becoming purified by the simple heartfelt expressions and songs sung in separation from Krishna. By the Braja Stri, the ladies of Vrindavan, the Braja Gopis, Radharani, Braja Gopis, all of them. Right? So, and Ramachandra, this will say, we here in Vaikuntha, Shanta Rasya, Dasya Rasya, neutral relationship, servitorship. No friendship. But we hear in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, we look very closely, we're told some old time Vaikuntha servitors, little bit element of friendship there. It's the first glimpse of a little, like an old time servant that with the master they have a little bit of friendship is entered. But we go higher, deeper in the spiritual world, more concentrate, we get to Ayodhya, and that's where there are Sakya rasa, friendship, Vatsalya rasa, paternal feeling, children, and the beginning of conjugal rasa, Madhura rasa. But it's restricted to one, Sita. So now this is interesting to underscore this point. Ramachandra, after Sita was banished, he still had to do some religious activities and rituals. And as a grihastha, you must perform these rituals with your wife by your side. So they made what are called Yajña Sitas, these Murtis of Sita. You can imagine Astadhatu or gold. And so the Murti of Sita, because Ramachandra, there's only Sita, she's everything to him. So they have Sita there. But here's where we leave the plane of what can be understood with rationale and mind and intellect and all these things. How beautiful is Ramachandra? The Yajña Sitas, he's so beautiful, they come to life. and they express their loving sentiments to him. They want to have conjugal relations with Ramachandra. He's that beautiful. The Murtis come to life and want to have a loving exchange with him. And as if that wasn't enough, Ramachandra is saying, no, only Sita, you may be the Yajña Sita, but Sita's everything. He's saying, but, and also here, seeing Ramachandra, the Dandakaranya rishis in the forest, they suddenly are imbued with erotic sentiments seeing him. He's so extraordinarily beautiful and compelling. And Ramachandra tells the Dandakaranya rishis and the Yajña Sitas, when I appear as Krishna, then your heart's inner desires will be fulfilled. But in my Ram Leela, just Ram, Sita and Ram, that conjugal seva is limited to her. So it's later in Krishna Leela, where he's unrestricted, there's the full flow. So we go from the one queen in Ayodhya to the 16,108 queens of Dwaraka to the Parakiya Rasa of the Brajagopis in Vrindavan. So, Hare Krishna. I can't believe it.